we saw with Daniel Craig, what we continue to see with Daniel Craig, but particularly in the first two films, Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, is an actor's actor committing entirely to this role, not as some sort of parodic centerpiece in the way Roger Moore did, where it's, you know, high parody, high jinks, all that kind of stuff.
That's fine.
There, Daniel. Headshot.
Daniel, here, please. Big smile. Down here. Daniel.
There's an amazing intensity in his eyes where it's like he wants to scream, but he breathes very heavily, and you see that constraint. And in some ways, this is my kind of go-to scene when talking about this kind of thing, because Bond is nothing if not a kind of constrained idea or emblem of kind of British masculinity, this sort of stiff upper lipness, right? That he just gets on with things. He's a cipher. He doesn't experience or feel things. You know, he can fall off the Millennium Dome and the world is not enough. He can get shot in Thunderball, but ultimately, he's not a superhuman man, right? He's not an Ubermensch. He's not one of the Watchmen. He's not one of these Marvel superheroes. He is a flesh and bone man. Seven films he did from 1973 to 1985 were very much tailored to the idea that this is a man, let's say, not in his physical prime, as someone like Daniel Craig is, but a comedic actor who's well known for his charm. And I often think with Roger Moore, he had, let's say, with all respect to his acting ability, he had the least difficult job to do. The line between Roger Moore, the man and actor, and James Bond, the sort of debonair, womanizing, globe-trotting spy, was particularly thin, I would hazard. And there's plenty of photos of Roger Moore on set, kind of reclining with a cigarette and cigar in his mouth, just enjoying the lifestyle of what it means to be Bond. And so I think for many scholars, for many critics and fans, I think perhaps Roger Moore is maybe the lazy man's Bond choice, the idea that he's the star and not Bond. These are dangerous men. With Moore, you get the sense that this is more kind of debonair and camp. But with Brosnan, you have this kind of, I suppose, this splicing of the two, really, don't you? The sense of debonair, the sense of kind of glamour and sophistication, but also the idea that this is a trained killer.
Weeks of filming on location in Vienna, before departing for several more weeks of intensive shooting on location in Morocco and at Pinewood Studios in England. United Artists' The Living Daylight is currently scheduled for a summer 1987 release by MGM UA Distribution Company in the United States and Canada.
Lazenby's agent actually advised him not to take a contract for 7 films. He said, do it film by film, on a film by film basis. And Lazenby rocked up to the premiere of On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969, sporting a massive beard and long hair. And this is very much against that kind of iconographical image of who or what Bond is supposed to be. I mean, obviously, we're looking at something like Skyfall for the most commercially successful Bond film of all time. But I'd have to say, in terms of sheer Bond mania, in terms of the sheer impact of it as a kind of cultural icon, it must be the middle films of the Connery era: Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, Thunderball. He kind of snuck in there with Doctor No, but really it's those three that I think for me encapsulate not just the kind of the overarching nature of the franchise and the character. You start with that kind of tense Cold War understated epic in From Russia with Love. It becomes a little bit more brash with the kind of Shirley Bassey overtones in Goldfinger, and it becomes full on bombast by the time 1965 rolls around. These are cash cows for the studio, so it's no wonder that the likes of Amazon want to get their hands on them. So, in terms of kind of future iterations, if the money is there to produce them, I think they will be made because their rate of returns are almost guaranteed. These intergenerational audiences that have been going for now 60 years all but ensure the success of these kinds of films.